Will you tell Russia not to manipulate the election? What about the Ukrainians?
Less than a month after that exchange between President Trump and Vladimir Putin, we heard this from Robert Mueller.
In your investigation, did you think that this was a single attempt by the Russians to get involved in our election, or did you find evidence to suggest they'll try to do this again?
No, it wasn't a single attempt. They're doing it as we sit here, and they expect to do it during the next campaign.
Indeed, a new document out that we mentioned at the top of the broadcast tonight from the U.S. Senate serves as a warning about the Russian interference, or it should. The New York Times sums it up this way, quote, the Senate Intelligence Committee concluded Thursday that election systems in all 50 states, let's repeat that, in all 50 states were targeted by Russia in 2016, largely undetected by the states and federal officials at the time. But at the demand of American intelligence agencies, the committee was forced to redact its findings so heavily that key lessons for the 2020 election are blacked out. Just this week, FBI Director Chris Wray told Congress Russia is absolutely intent on interfering in future elections. Meanwhile, and somewhat unbelievably, election security legislation has hit a roadblock in the U.S. Senate. The AP puts it this way. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell on Thursday blocked a House-passed bill that would authorize $775 million to beef up state election systems. GOP leaders made the case that the Trump administration has already made great strides in protecting the vote, and they say no more funding is needed. Thank you very much. Here to talk about it with us tonight, Michael McFaul, former U.S. ambassador to Russia. His recent book titled From Cold War to Hot Peace, an American Ambassador in Putin's Russia. And Clint Watts back with us, a former FBI special agent. He's also a distinguished research fellow at the Foreign Policy Research Institute. He happens to be author of Messing with the Enemy, Surviving in a Social Media World of Hackers, Terrorists, Russians, and Fake News. Gentlemen, good evening to you both. Clint, I have one more quote here from the New York Times. It concluded, this is about the Senate report, it concluded that while there is no evidence that any votes were changed in actual voting machines, Russian cyber actors were in a position to delete or change voter data in the Illinois voter database. The committee found no evidence that they did so. Just talking with you for 2 minutes, you found evidence in this report Russia sent election monitors to some of our polling places?
That was one of the things I had not heard before. And most of this is redundant, right? We've seen it in other reports or, reporting that's come out in the New York Times. But this said they were trying to send monitors or some sort of observers to polling stations.
What do we do about this?
Yeah, it's fascinating to me because what I was most worried about on election night, even going back to 2014, we had been watching this. When it came to 2016, what we were worried about was the outbreak of violence at polling places under the auspices that there was election rigging or voter fraud. This was pushed very heavily by the Russians in terms of their disinformation. It was supported by these maneuvers, which is just create a hack, any sort of a hack. So any sort of a chaos that it would sow doubt in the minds of Americans that votes have been changed. And then you had President Trump, then candidate Trump, claiming election-rigged voter fraud. And what was remarkable in this report, too, the second thing that I thought was interesting was they were in Senator Wyden's portion. It talks about the Russian disinformation system was ready to say, rest in peace, democracy, Clinton wins, it's all a fraud, it's all a sham. They were ready, had Clinton won, to actually keep this chaos going in our system. They were trying to put people out at polling places. They were trying to amplify the divides even before and after the vote on 2016.
This is a flip question intentionally. Did I miss a national decision to sell out to these guys? What's going on here?
It's baffling to me because what's clear, I think, as you go through that report today, is there is a disconnect between the federal, state, and local level about how to protect the elections. And I know great gains have been made. DHS's CISA group, they are doing great things, but they only have so much they can do. And these election systems are varied and different in many different places. They don't all have a verifiable paper ballot, an audit way to go back and verify the vote. And when you look at this, there's no way we have all the resources covered to help all these people. And at the same time, we have Senator McConnell blocking legislation and also at times insinuating that you can't trust the federal government to go down there and help state and local election officials do their job. This is just sowing the seeds for what could be chaos, not just from Russia, any foreign actor, any domestic actor, any hacktivist that's out there that just wants to cause problems for us in 2020.
Mike McFaul, think about this, and I know you do. The president jokes with Putin. Mueller warns about Putin. McConnell says, hell no, we don't need any more protection against Putin. They got their guy in the UK. Bojo, Boris Johnson, is virulently pro-Brexit.
Well, Putin's feeling pretty good about all those facts, Brian. That's the first thing I would say. I do think he's not feeling so good about this report, however. I think the detail that is documented here will hopefully spur some of those Republican senators that have not been supportive of new legislation to think twice about it. The parts that are redacted are still frustrating to me. Why are they being redacted when these are facts about what the Russians did to us? But I do want to say, I think it really does spell out that this was a bigger operation than just helping President Trump. I think that's a really important thing that people need to think about, including the President of the United States. You're not taking all these actions. And by the way, as you rightly pointed out, not just in 21 states, as we originally thought, but all 50 states. You're not taking these actions just to help Trump win the election. You're taking these actions on the idea that you might disrupt the elections. And that, I think, is something I hope finally the president and Senator McConnell will take seriously. This is not about helping Trump win. This is about undermining American democracy.
So, Ambassador, if I'm watching this at home tonight, I feel much as I do right now, I'm on a ledge. If people are yelling at their television, what can we do about this? What do you tell them? Their elected representatives are about to take 6 weeks off.
Call Senator McConnell. Put pressure on him. There are lots of good pieces of legislation out there. I was just on Capitol Hill talking to senators yesterday about these things, and lots of the recommendations in this report, lots of the recommendations that other experts has made, including Clinton, myself, they're in the legislation. This is a no-brainer. There should be a paper trail for every vote that is cast in 2020. How can any American be against that? That is the most American thing. If you care about sovereignty, this is what you do. You call Senator McConnell and you say, please take action on these nonpartisan, very practical decisions that we can take before 2020 to secure our vote in a more and to secure our vote. And I want to emphasize something Clinton said, too, not just against the Russians, but against the Iranians, the Chinese, the high school hacker club here in Silicon Valley. Not all these actors may have President Trump's interests in mind. We all should come together collectively to protect the vote in 2020.
Clint Watts, last word, 30 seconds.
If we don't fix these problems, this report today is not a warning or recommendations, but it's a blueprint for any adversary. You can go through it and see what Russia did. You can see what the response has been, and you can see what the recommendations are. And if nothing is done, then this is the playbook that you run in 2020 if you really want to mess with the United States.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.